Um, it, Chelsea dropped points again at the weekend, and it's kind of been one of those weird weekends. Maybe because it happened on Friday, and there's been so much football since, it's not really been discussed as much. But what we were saying about Chelsea and their sort of their lack of wins, I think they've had one win since Christmas. One win in the Premier League in 2023. That was a 1-0 win against Palace. It doesn't look great down there, does it, Nobbins?
Yeah, Chelsea are a weird one. I watched that game, like the first 20, 30 minutes. I was like, oh my God, like this Chelsea team's finally clicked. They're creating so many chances. Like they're like, if they get like a proper striker in, or, just like playing Kunku in like in a good role next season, they could like be like genuine title contenders. And then out of nowhere, like West Ham just like get a goal, because I think like Mudryk doesn't really close as he should. Cucurella's having a bad season. And then they just sort of like capitulate from there. And so it's a really weird one. I still believe in Potter. I like Potter a lot. I loved him at Brighton. I know a lot of Chelsea fans don't like him. But I do think that, as we saw with Arteta and Arsenal, it is a case of trusting the process, I think. It will take a long time for all these players to amalgamate into the team. We've already seen some of them play well. Like I think Enzo Fernandez, I was very impressed with. Mudryk, in the little I've seen him, I thought it's been good. João Felix has sort of reminds me how like bad Havertz is. Like Felix comes in and is immediately really good, and then Havertz is a sort of similar type of player in theory. It's just like pales in comparison. So my thoughts on Chelsea are that they're obviously not the finished article yet. They still need a proper striker. Maybe Nkunku will be that, although he's not really an out-and-out number 9. But yeah, they're a weird one. Sort of like a night and day performance from Chelsea, I thought.
I'm not even getting at you, Nobbins, because a lot of people have said it, but when people revert to the Arteta example as like a benchmark or I think it's an outlier. Arteta is fortunate to be. Arteta's lucky to be at Arsenal right now. Let's keep it honest. At most top 6 clubs, including Spurs, he would have been sacked after his second full year, maybe at the end of last season.
When he finished 8th for the second year.
8th and then 5th. So,
but where are Spurs now? Where are Arsenal now?
No, I get it. What I'm saying is, I think to expect Chelsea fans or expect Chelsea, the board, to look at the Arteta model as, well, it worked for them, let's do it, I think it's unlikely, because it's not something that happens every so often. It happened because he was given the time. He was given his 3.5 years to get it right, so to speak. But sometimes you might give a manager 3.5 years and they're still getting it wrong, and then it's like, damn, we should have got rid of him 1.5 years ago. I'm not even saying get rid of Potter now. That's not what I'm saying. But if you look at Manchester United, Liverpool, Man City, all of those teams right now, and let's say prior exclude Oli, but if you look at all their times where Liverpool have been successful, Man City have been successful, Man United are trying to be successful, they've all got managers who have some kind of pedigree, at least at the European level. I'm not saying you have to win all those cups, but some pedigree. They've won in Europe in terms of their leagues, Borussia Dortmund, Barcelona, and of course Bayern Munich, Ajax with Ten Hag. They've all been relatively successful based on the club they've been with in the Champions League. And then they've come to England to rebuild a squad or start a project. But they're starting the project from a place of, what's the word? Like some kind of superiority because of the level
They've
of
got
management.
standard already. They're afforded time.
Whereas Potter's come in to start this project at Chelsea from a level where he's below Chelsea's level. For what Chelsea need, he needs to actually get up to Chelsea's level before he can take Chelsea to the next level. And I think that's the biggest issue here. Chelsea have got the manager that Spurs should have, respectfully to Spurs, and Spurs have got the manager that Chelsea should have. In terms of that is the level of manager Chelsea should be going for. So I'm not saying they have to get rid of, do it the same Abramovich way every 2-3 years, get rid of a new manager, but they should be going for proven, on the brink of world-class managers. And I never thought Potter was on the brink of that. I think Potter had a lot to prove that he could get to that brink. It was like the whole Brendan Rodgers. He was at Swansea. He did his bit there. He went to Liverpool, and yes, he nearly won the title, but that was a flash in the pan. That was a step too far. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, maybe until he's actually gone. I just think this job is just too big for him. And the way that he talks in the press conferences, suggests to me that he feels a bit like
He feels
I don't think I'm not really supposed to be here. I'm just happy to be here. That's the way I look at it sometimes.
Even like his touchline, like it's a weird thing to talk about, but I think it's important. When you look at how these other top managers are on the touchline, there's a presence there. You can see them trying to do something. The amount of times the camera cuts to Graham Potter and he sat down just watching the game, like he's paid 50 quid to go sit on the front row. Like, you're supposed to be there as the manager, trying to have an influence on the team. But even in the press, like you're Chelsea FC, you're supposed to be better than 90% of the rest. You're not supposed to sit there after scraping a draw against whoever it is and go, "Oh, every team in this league's good. They all give us tough competition." You're supposed to sit there and go, "We're much better. We walk the floor, and if you don't, there's major problems." But he's not up to that yet.
I think you guys are being harsh a little bit on Chelsea. Understand that this is the first time they've had these guys even playing together. Reece James has come back from injury. Felix just got in. Enzo Fernandez just got in. You look at some of these guys, they haven't really played together. They haven't really had an opportunity to gel. I've always said since they sacked Thomas Tuchel, it was going to take a while for this Chelsea team to get going and get themselves playing. You don't even have familiarity between some of these players. At this moment in time, Chelsea Football Club are the same as Enzo Fernandez payments. They're taking their points in installments, and we got to just take it as it is.
Wow, Gal's got heat for everyone today, hasn't it?
I know.
I like it. I like it. Listen, I feel like I get the people are challenging him. I just think this is a slow burner. And the fact they keep coming out and publicly backing him and saying he's going to get time, doesn't matter what goes wrong, we're going to be behind him. I get why Chelsea fans are going to keep asking for him to go, but I just get a feeling he's going no time soon. Every now and then I look at it and think they're not winning games. At some point, you're going to get one of those news reports from a Kinsella or a David Ornstein say like there's suddenly pressure on him. But it's almost like after every poor result, they brief the media to say, no, this man is staying. He's part of our long-term vision, and we think we're going to build something brilliant with him. And I think Chelsea fans really struggle because this is so new for them. They're not used to this approach, the types of players they're buying, the idea of a long-term plan at Chelsea. Like these guys, like everything was instant, instant dinner, instant coffee, instant family. I don't know, literally like everything was straight away. Blow up dolls, girlfriends. I don't know what it was, but everything straight away.
Let me ask you, because everyone said, and you said it as well. This obviously this is new. We haven't seen this with many times, but Chelsea have basically fast-tracked the process. They've done, three transfer windows, 4 transfer windows work in one transfer window, so to speak.
Yeah.
Does that mean next season we expect them to win the league? Because if any other manager had 2 or 3 transfer windows at a top 6 club, after that third transfer window, you'd be like, all right, now it's time to challenge. So are we gonna, if we're saying that, well, this is the process and we have to accept the process for what it is, and Todd Bowley knows what he's doing, we therefore have to expect Chelsea at the end of this season, the start of next season, to be ahead of where most teams would be after spending 600 million. Because I mean, we can't have, it's either they know what they're doing and they're going to win the title because they fast track the process, or they have no clue what they're doing and they've bought a bunch of players who are never going to have time to gel.
Mate, I think it's a fair question. And I think that I said this on a video that I did this morning where I was talking about something Rory Jennings said. And I think next year they top 4 challenging. They need to be in the mix. And sometimes you can miss out, but still be a really good team. But they have to be a good team next year. So I do think they have to click quicker in that regard. They get the remainder of this season to tinker. They get the manager's essentially got, in my opinion, an extended preseason with competitive games. That's how he's got to treat this. I can't imagine them winning the Champions League. So it's all preparation for next year. Who can stay? Who's going to go? And I think one of the biggest elements of the summer is who they can get rid of. Getting rid of the right players is going to be just as key. And I still think, by the way, they're going to add 3 or 4 more players in the summer. But I think what they might do in the summer is 3 or 4 players, like sort of they're looking at the likes of Usherman up front, 80-90 million. It might be 3 or 4 real big money signings. Caicedo.
Is that on top of Nkunku, and obviously they got the right back from Leon already coming in?
Yeah. That's on top of them. They're talking about going again financially, but we don't know what it looks like in terms of, is that going to be another 6 or 7 players, or is that going to be 2 or 3, maybe 4? So yeah, I think there does need to be expectations on them, and I expect them to finish games off like they did the other day. But in that opening sort of half, I could see what Graham Potter was trying to do. And I get that his methods are being challenged right now. But again, I remember when Klopp was getting challenged in England. And obviously Klopp had more of a CV, but I remember the first 18 months and this sort of, we can't stop his teams from conceding. It's never going to work. And then he dropped that money on Van Dijk, and they just literally, it was like overnight they became a team that could manage games through. And I think once he gets it, who knows how good he'll be? Who knows how good they'll do? But certainly at the weekend, it was nowhere near the standard which I think Chelsea fans.
Can I mention one thing? They got robbed of a penalty. Also, we can't forget to mention that.
I mean, VAR this weekend had